Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
I can hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Um, Glad to be here. How was your
Glad to
day?
be here as well. A little bit of a down day. My XFA hit a daily loss limit. Trying to short the equities that seem safe to buy now. I think everything is okay at this point, but good day overall. It's good to be here, everyone. How was your day, Coach?
Good. I didn't trade much. I traded early. I had a decent day. Um, so after yesterday's beating, I'm
Yeah,
almost almost back.
there we go. Push yourself
But
back to recovery.
yeah, was not in a hurry to do it, but the markets gave me the opportunity. So you know, just executing the plan.
That's all we got to do. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this session is to review what happened in the markets for the day. May talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay, been a top step performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past six, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 2 years. I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some of my experience, knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. Before we get into the markets, we did have Google earnings come out, Intel as well. Numbers for Google earnings per share came in at $2.81. Estimates were $2.01. Revenues came in at 90.23 billion. Estimate was 89.1 billion. Google ad revenue uh, came in at 66.89 billion. Estimate was 66.39. YouTube ads a little bit lower than expected. 8.93 billion. Estimate was 8.94. Cloud revenues missed there as well. Announced a 5% boost to their dividend. Google surpassed 270 million paid subscriptions. Anyone subscribing to anything that they have to pay for with Google? I know I am. YouTube Premium. I can't go without it. I cannot do ads on YouTube.
I agree with you there.
I watch too much YouTube to ever see an ad.
It's like watching an NBA basketball game.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Intel earnings we had as well. His Royal says YouTube Premium, YouTube Music, Bing plays for Google Work, pays for Google Workspace. Nice. You know, if you maybe some people running small businesses and things like that, maybe paying for Google Workspace for your email, to host servers and things like that as well. Google TV, Coop using it for data storage. The Hibachi did not get here yet. Still waiting on it. Uh, Intel reported earnings as well. Earnings per share came in at 13 cents. Estimate was 74 cents. That's a big miss. Revenues came in at 12.67 billion. Estimate was 12.31. Uh, Still making some money on their data centers. 4.13 billion. Estimate was 2.96. Miss here. But Google's really the important one. That's probably the one that everyone is paying attention to. We did see a spike in the equities right after the close. Of course, these companies are going to be having their conference calls as well, where they give forward guidance for the rest of, or for the next quarter at least, and maybe for the rest of the year. We did see Google spike from $160 up to 171, so about a $10 spike in a short period of time. It's trading right now at $166. Of course, lower volume time. Uh, you know, the we're really going to be able to tell the market's response tomorrow when a lot more volume can come into it. Why do we cover some of these major earnings, Coach? They're heavily weighted in the equity markets that we trade every day. As these companies go, the Nvidias, the Googles, the Apples, Amazons, the equity markets are going to go as well. So it's kind of cool to know the components of them. Anything you got on news today, Coach?
Well, the T word again.
Yep,
Peace breaking out in Ukraine, possibly, but mostly all just talk right now. But it's positive talk. I think that's the underlying um, move that there's acceptance that these tariffs are going to have to be negotiated down, um, and taking the fear out of the buying. And so I think we saw some with that news, we saw some institutions dipping their toe in and getting back in. But outside of that, as you like to say, there's the scheduled news and the unscheduled news, and I still believe the unscheduled news is leading the way here.
100%. I don't know that we had any planned numbers. Okay, so we did. We had jobless claims come in at 222,000. Expectation was 222,000. US durable goods came in at 9.2%. Forecast was 2%. A big miss for that number. Is that right? That's a big miss. Uh,
Yeah, that was a huge miss. The-
and we had home sales coming at 4.02 million. Forecast was 4.13 million. As far as numbers go for tomorrow, we do have President speaking, signing some executive orders. Should be in the next half an hour or so. We got Tokyo CPI, and then tomorrow we do have Canadian retail sales and the University of Michigan sentiment number, which we know has been a market mover. I will be on Fast Markets tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about that number and watching the market's response to it because it has been a big mover as of late. So let's get into these charts. There are 35 different markets we can trade with Topstep accounts, not just the equities. And today, to the downside, we have platinum down 0.16%, soybean meal down 0.54%, and natural gas, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, at 2.09%. Coach, this quote board is looking like it's safe to buy.
Is it safe? Is it safe? Well, it
There's a
seems
lot
to
of
be.
green there,
As long as you have a proper stop in, it is safe.
right?
I agree, but
Uh,
I can't see the charts right now.
See the charts. Let me share those with you. Give
Thank
me
you.
1 second. Oh.
I thought I'm the only one that had that problem with browsers.
Right there we go. You should be able to see them now.
All right.
All right. To the upside, we had the S&P up 2.15%, the Nasdaq up 2.79%, still kind of moving around right now, and soybean oil, our biggest percentage mover to the upside at 3.54%. To round out our big four, we have crude oil up 0.75%, gold up 1.73%, and we already talked about the S&P and the Nasdaq. Speaking of which, coach, I am going to go out to a daily. What are we looking at here on the daily?
Well, what's that yellow line? We've been playing with it, and we settled above it barely. Um, and today, I will call that allocation. Like I said, I believe institutions are feeling it's safe to start allocating some capital that they've probably withheld. Um, we've closed above the 20-day moving average. Looks like the objective is to the 50-day moving average. Interestingly enough, I believe we closed above the April 9th daily.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did, and that has been the candle we've been talking about since we printed it.
Um, so tomorrow being a Friday, some any kind of positive news comes out, I think we're gonna run to that 50-day real quick.
Yep.
But this is I don't like to project, but I can plan if that happens to take and manage risk. So pretty positive action.
Pretty positive. So correction, we did not close above that high. That high is 19,386.75. Right now we're trading 19,350. So we did trade above it, but we did not close above it yet, right? We still got a half an hour. Price action still going to kind of move around. Settlement is going to be lower than that price, but markets haven't closed officially yet, so we could potentially trade higher. In some of the equity markets, we did close higher. Look at the S&P. The high of that candle is 55.20. S&P is currently trading 55.21. So we may close higher here. The Russell, looking like the strongest of them all,
Yeah.
pretty significantly over that high. And then the Dow has to play some catch up. We are still holding that 20-day moving average in the Dow as a resistance, and we really haven't even tested the high of that April 9th candle. Maybe there's some opportunity in here for the Dow to play catch up, or if money's going into tech and out of the components of the Dow, do we see this kind of hang out at these lows?
Yeah, interesting. The Dow being the blue chip, um, like
Index,
index, it's held up po- better. I mean, like that's a safety place.
right?
And now, like you said, I think the catch up is the Nasdaq and then the S&P. But
Yeah.
still,
Uh,
pretty positive. Like I said, pretty positive action. And all of those, we could see the pressure released and buying come in pretty hard. And tomorrow, being a Friday, being towards the end of the month, um, being that this tariff talk is going to be settled one way or the other.
yep, 100%. So there's a interesting comment from Alex in the chat here. Volume today doesn't feel like we should be where we are. Hopefully, some more volume comes in tomorrow. It's a good point, Alex. If we look at and just kind of by nature, markets that are moving up do so on lower volume. It just kind of is what it is on the daily. The markets have this natural bid, and buyers might not be just rushing in to be convinced about buying higher prices, right? But when there's fear, everyone's scared, and we see markets sell off a little bit quicker. But you're right. We did trade up near those highs on kind of decreasing volume, so it'll be interesting to see what actually happens. And again, we've been selling off for 2 months because of the tariffs, pretty much, and we don't really have a resolution. So anything can still happen, right? Coach, would you say we're in the clear right now?
Um, well, I would say that it's the selling pressure is definitely abated.
Yes.
Now, that's when I'm talking tomorrow. We could see when I say allocation, that be institutions who have delayed purchases come in, and what do they allocate? Buying.
Right.
Um, so if that happens, and we talk about a bear market rally, this could uncork. Um, Two things. A, this is a pretty big move over the 20-day moving average. Um, One of the technical signs that the selling has stopped. So and a great point. The volume's not there. That's why I call it the selling pressure has stopped.
Yep.
Um, and once again, if buyers come in, they're not going to come in um, passively. So still not a bear market, but I mean, I could see a rip roaring rally tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
The
absolutely.
way I'm seeing this. Like I said, if that volume comes in, they're not coming. They're not coming in to buy one S&P. So I
Definitely
might.
not. Right.
I might
I'll,
move.
I'll
I
I'll
might
take one
move
of
to the
those.
mini.
I'll take one of those. All right. All right, let's go to a shorter time frame. Let's go take a look at a 30-minute chart. And I got some questions. What are the indicator names alongside the 20 moving average? I'm using a moving average triple, right? Because I have the 20, 50, and 200 moving average here. The only other indicators I have are top step levels, VWAP. and volume. But let's take a look at the half hour open from last night. Shout out to Dakota. Slow markets was a marathon yesterday. He had a nice short on uh, in a 2.5 hour slow markets when it's normally an hour and a half. Uh, but last night's price action kind of gave us exactly that, Coach. By the time we got on for the Guppy moving average was there as well, Alex. See, chat does not miss a thing. I don't use that. That's on there for the reversal challenge only. So I took it off my charts. Uh, Last night's price action was pretty range bound. We didn't really get uh, much of a direction until we got into kind of deeper into the Asian session and then into London. So really nice short off the high of this range that Dakota took. I don't remember exactly what his target was, but uh, we had the gap that we opened the week with, and actually we did not open the week. We had the gap from Wednesday's price action. So basically, what we did was trade down into about 50% of that gap and bounce, and it held. Uh, I kind of, for me, coach, I'm looking at this is a satisfied test of that gap. Uh, I don't know that it necessarily needs to fully close. We traded into it a decent amount where there was really no price action here at all. We traded it, and the market held up from there. When you see something like this, traders that might think gaps have to fill.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we go back, we're gonna find one.
Oh yeah. Find a couple. We go back a couple years.
Uh, What I'd like is, you have that 50% into the gap, but one of the things, look at the structure when it happened. This is light volume.
Yep.
We have a wick. Is that a hammer? If I had a
Uh,
hammer,
Almost. Yeah. I guess you could call that a hammer. Yeah.
it's hammer time. Yeah, I said that. I'll do push-ups after the show. Yeah, I just couldn't resist. So, but look at that. See when on light volume, halfway into the gap. What and what I mean by light volume, first of all, it's at night.
Right.
So this is small volume. Um, in other words, it's not convicted. But as soon as that stopped, I mean, that's a classic. If I'm short, I'm not, and it doesn't hit my objective, and we talk about new information, that kind of structure is it's a cover. I don't need to wait any longer. You're gonna do it. All right.
I'm
Well,
sorry. There's a lot going on over here.
actually, what's that? Did we have a J trade there for a night session?
Give me 1 second. Yeah. This on this reversal here. I don't know how much volume
Yeah.
was actually in that candle. But let's look at a shorter time frame.
So, well, let's see if it's relative. Yeah, in a 3 minute. Oh,
High volume here. Not really at those
that was
lows.
low. There was no volume there. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. What time was that? London calling?
This is the London Open right here, and then yeah, about an hour into the London session. Yep.
Things. I only know the bottom was made. Um, Still, to me, the key is the opening in the U.S. for U.S. equities. So
Right. Give me a second here, Coach. You guys should be able to hear Coach Paul now. My AirPods died, and that's the audio source. Should be good to go now. Can you guys hear Coach Paul now?
can you hear me? Check, check.
Testing, testing. Can you guys hear Coach Paul? Okay. Yes, they can
Testing.
hear you now.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
So let's go to the opening in New York.
And I'm gonna take off the regular trading hour, the extended trading hours, and just go to regular trading hours. Um, because this is almost a clearer example of how much this was a great buy today. Uh, we had the spike into the close yesterday. We had pretty much MOC orders yesterday. And on the open, we kind of tested right down to this 5,400. If we ignore everything that happened overnight and just look at the regular trading hours, we traded down to the lower end of the range, right? For our volume profile traders, we were, that volume profile is supposed to look. How does it look like that?
There. Oh, you almost had it there.
I was trying to use a different indicator so we can look at something a little bit different than what we normally do. But here we go. Okay, there it is. So we traded down into value from yesterday, right? This is value. We can see all the balance that the market was in here. We bounce. We don't trade lower than yesterday's range, and we have that major 5,400 level there, which was the low of the New York session for the day. Was that the easiest buy? I don't know. I could understand how if somebody was looking at the overnight session, they might have thought, "Hey, do we go take out those overnight lows? Is this gap still an issue?" But if we look at just the regular trading hour session, yesterday's lows, where we had that kind of volume spike that came in MOCs to the buy side, uh, held, and we just rallied. Really, if we look at an hourly chart, Coach, I don't think we had. Yeah, we didn't really have a red candle all day.
No, and it finished with a spike at the high.
Yep.
That's why I'm getting friendly to this. And it wasn't on big volume. It
No.
was just average volume, so it's floating up, and that's why I said if a big institution comes, which is possible tomorrow, it could ignite the engines and go.
Yeah. 100%. Got a great question from Thousand Proof here. Why are the likes so low? You guys can do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button. We very much appreciate it. Thank you all for joining here today. Got 723 of you here doing this market review. All right, Coach. Anything else that we want to talk about? We didn't really look at a 3 minute chart. We talked about it on the 30, but we can see it here, right? On that open New York session open. A lot of us are looking at this opening range trade, and we had the first 3 minutes, and volume never traded below 5,400. Even on that open where we have, these market on open orders, that there's going to be a ton of size trading there. 5,400 major psych level. Anyone who's trading the S&Ps is going to know we're trading 5,400. Uh, quick rejection. We can see, does the volume that trades the day prior matter for the session coming up, right? We have a lot of traders that use volume profile, and you might look at a point of control from a prior day as an area of interest. Is this the J trade right here, Coach?
With that, yeah, you could say that, because look, it never took out those lows.
Right.
Once it got over the high, it exploded.
Yep. Yeah. Close above that high, and it was just off to the races from there. Uh,
And
so
it was interesting on that. I preempted on the S&P
okay.
on a 3 minute. It didn't on the opening. It closed for 3 minutes below the open, I think.
Uh,
Um,
yes, it did.
and and I preempted it on 1 unit of risk, but without the VWAP leaving, it was it was a small loss. But I looked at it and the VWAP left the range, and I'm like, okay, I get it now. And you hear me talk about I usually just trade one side of market,
Right.
but there was information, new information,
Yeah, for sure.
um, and that was pretty. When we put the VWAP in there, it was pretty obvious.
Yep.
Also, let's look at the 20 bar daily moving average.
It was at 5401.
Now
And
let's
again,
go. Let's,
if we include the overnight session, we traded under that, but I'm really starting to like only looking at regular trading hours, coach.
yeah, I do too. Especially for, this is day trading. And like I said, the volume comes
Yep.
in New York. I mean, it's nothing against trading at night. This is not. But for decision making in the day time frame, I agree 100%. So, what was that 20-day moving average level?
5401.
So, what was that low of the opening range?
5402.
Hmm.
No volume traded under it. And we've been talking about that. And again, shout out to you, coach, for the focus on it so much. But what does the market do at this 20 moving average? Now, you may not use moving averages in your trading or whatever it is, but I think it's hard to kind of deny that there's a reaction at this price level. And we've seen that consistently. Um, and again, whatever you're reading, whether it be volume, moving averages, whole number levels, that kind of lined up right with that 5400 as well. No one was willing, similar to what we had the rejection at 5500s yesterday, where no one was willing to buy it up there. Wasn't many market participants that were willing to sell below 5400. If shorts had to cover, that kind of pushes this rally higher. And we also are getting closer to an environment where people feel a little bit more comfortable buying. Uh, and that leads to this pretty strong rally today.
Hey, look at that. Did we have a J trade that didn't turn the market there?
This one,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
So it was more of 6 minutes of volume instead of the three.
Uh,
But yeah, like we didn't get a push here, right? Wasn't exactly at those lows. Um, wasn't the low of the day. I think this coach kind of felt more like profit taking on these longs, right?
yes.
Where a lot of time we're looking for that reversal where it's a spike at the high. This happened in the middle of the range, and again, it felt like just profit taking here, maybe. I think we did have some comments coming out from some Fed speakers at this time. But like you said, it didn't turn the market. All that volume, we couldn't trade lower than, and became kind of the next leg for that rally up.
Yeah. Um, you hit it on the head. I wasn't it some news, short-term news around that time?
Yeah, someone said something about someone probably, or
So we
something.
talk about sellers who can't bad selling now
Correct.
or profit taking, but whatever it was couldn't change the direction. An interesting reaction after we broke the high was going right halfway back and onward and upward.
Yep. There was a comment from Boss Futures Traders. Good question. Can you clarify for entering the J trade? Does it need to make new lows but not take out the actual session low? So it's not always going to happen exactly at the session lows, right? We might have it in the middle of a range. If we're teaching this, and again, sometimes the way we take the trade and we execute it is not the exact way we should probably teach it. As you'll hear Coach Paul and I say, sometimes I'm going to preempt this trade. But really, what we're talking about from a technical perspective is high volume that looks like exhaustion at the extreme of a move, and then a candle close outside of that. Right now, your execution in this case could be anywhere in these 12 points. Could you preempt this? Yes, but you might be accepting that that's a lower probability trade. The confirmation comes from closing outside of that range and then continuing to go from there. Um, trade execution coach is a it's a skill that I think needs to be developed. Where And coach, do you think you can teach someone to execute the same exact trade as you?
Exact trade,
Yeah.
I
Where
think we're all a little different.
right,
Um, and that's yeah, exactly is the key word there.
right,
But to understand, the thing is to understand the principles.
right,
And it's a principle. It's not just a rule that exhaust. And I would also say that that J trade or exhausted selling is it's an A plus when it's at the low or the high
correct.
of the day. That's important. Like you said, this one wasn't, but it was a spike of selling. Um, I would say that is a B plus versus an A trade.
Right,
To give you an indication, if okay, the selling came in and they couldn't change the direction. Then I look at that VWAP there, and then another VWAP from the open. Now okay. Who's still? That's why I love just put. I always just remove the candles and go with the flow. Um, there. Who's in control?
buyers all day.
Now, with that, I don't want to take a short at that. Two things that you said. This isn't from um the open. It was a respite. It was the classic um profit taking rest. But here, when we look at that from the opening, and then it doesn't take out the opening volume, and then it gets above it again. Hmm, it's not a good sell.
Right.
Uh, That's so observation and principles. You could, I my mentor was Peter Stottlemyre. I learned most of my knowledge from him. I could not trade like him. So, but I learned a lot of principles and the essence of flow from him. And I would say that in any trader, we're individuals,
Right.
right? And then we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Um, so, but as Ray Dalio puts in his book, if you haven't read it, Principles, go ahead and read it. Um, you know, you can break rules, but you can't break principles. So,
Right.
great question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like shooting a basketball, right? We're basketball coaches. You can teach someone how to shoot a basketball, and there's going to be a thousand different forms. As long as the ball goes in the basket, I'll take it. Uh,
Yeah. You get, at one point, if it's going in, there's even Steph Curry has kind of a funky
oh yeah,
shot.
not a picture perfect jump shot, but he's made the most. He's made more than anybody else.
He's the greatest shooter of all time. So,
Look at a textbook of a jump shot. It is not his.
no. So that's why
Rewrite the textbook.
we're individuals. Everyone, even I look at the coaches. We all have different styles. But
Right.
what's the number one principle?
Manage your risk.
Preserve your cap. Yeah,
Yep.
manage your risk, preserve your capital.
All right. Let's get to a couple of questions here. Who do we got? Greg B asks, "You watch the Russell quite a bit. Why do you think it's running stronger than the others?" Uh, I don't know that I have a great reason, Greg, and I've been watching it over the past week or so. And the reason I really went with it is because I saw it on the quote board being a bigger percentage mover than the S&P and the Nasdaq, which to me just tells me the movement in it was a little bit more fluid, and you know, kind of was getting better follow through on the trades. Why it's moving better than the others? Maybe it's because it's not. It's more of a dispersed weighting, right? Where the Nasdaq is going to be, it's 7 companies move the Nasdaq. If we're being real, uh, And coach, you've used this analogy before, but the Russell is like moving a barge instead of a speedboat, uh, where once it starts going in a direction, it's going to go. I don't really have an answer for that though.
Yeah, but there's 2,000 stocks versus really 7.
You're right.
So it's, but to me, also from a fundamental point of view, if I'm a um, institutional fund manager, the Russell has 2,000 stocks. Now these guys have to they have to allocate. It's
Hmm.
part of their um, their structure. So they're not they're being conservative by buying the Russell.
Yep.
It's spreading the risk on 2,000 stocks versus basically 7. And actually, to me, that's a little friendly for the market overall.
100%. Thank you for that, coach. Let's see what other questions we got in here. What caused the big wick in ES around 7:40 a.m. Eastern time? Uh, I don't know. That's outside of my trading hours. I only trade regular trading hours now. Um, that's a joke. I don't know. Uh, I'm not sure actually. We see a spike in volume though, and we can actually see when
And that was buying volume.
yeah, buying volume, quick rejection there.
What
Again,
was
holding that high once volume came in for New York.
that? Could have been, and there was a spike. That could have been a short covering buy, like some fund manager, because there was volume on that. Like, don't
Yeah, there was.
wait for the opening.
Yep.
That can happen. I mean, I've seen orders like that. Like a big order, like, um, we're not parsing this out now.
Right.
Maybe they know something that someone asked yesterday. Maybe they know something we don't.
Yeah, is somebody trading with more information? Whoever did that probably was, or they got liquidated. Uh,
That could be it too.
all right. So here we go. Let's go to gold real quick. Go over this market, and then we'll get back to some of the questions. All right. Extended trading hours in gold. Looking at it daily, looked like we were gonna get 3 down days in an uptrend, but we got two. Coach, what are we looking at here on the daily?
Still in a correction, holding that second day. Um, Still above the 20. Um, Taking a little bit of a rest. Looks still with it's not 3 down days, it's 2, but still looking like all of the corrections we've been having at this point.
Yep.
Um, I'm in no sell mode. Maybe this is the high.
Hmm.
I, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you know, get short. But for me, this is still an uptrend. Um,
Looked.
I'm still looking to buy it.
Yeah. And
Ooh,
starting. Let's go to last night. We had last night's open. It was kind of a back and forth day today. What's that white line up there, Coach?
that's 200 bar moving average on the 30-minute chart. What's the
200. Go ahead.
yeah, there was some urgency last night. I don't remember this.
Oh yeah, there was right up into
Um,
that 200 moving average.
and where did it come from?
Our friends in Asia
Our
buying
friends
it
in
again.
Asia. And then look at that. They didn't that half hour. I mean, it's almost just automatic now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
is Globex open? Oh yeah. Well, buy. Um, that was a
Yeah.
great 2-to-1 2-to-1 trade. But interesting, the to me, that 200 bar moving average was above that market and it stopped. And look
Yep.
at and we have the 20 and the 50. So it's got to get really bullish, it's got work to do.
Yeah. We've seen this kind of lead this type of price action lead to balance in this market a lot, where gold might chop around for a week or two, where it's done that in this uptrend. Um, And that's interesting, coach, right? This entire rally, we've been above that 200 moving average for the most part, right? So going back to April 9th, but we're below it now. Uh, with a again, like you said, really strong rejection where it looked like okay, just buy it back up to all time highs, but that rejection there. So uh, still got to convince people to buy this for it to go up.
Oh, I found a place to be convinced to buy it. What's that volume spike at the day's low?
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna talk about that one. We go down to we're going to talk about that when we go down to a shorter time frame. Slow markets last night. I was talking about looking to buy this. Again, I didn't come to the markets until 8 p.m. Eastern time last night. But if you guys were watching slow markets, you heard me say, and I bought with a micro up at these highs and took it off for $50 and took the trade off because I said, I want to buy this, but I feel like I'm late to the move buying it, so I can't take it with full size. If I want to buy this, it needs to be either at VWAP or I think I did say 33.25s, which was the high of that first 30-minute opening range. And that's why we're looking there, right? We can see how this held. Um, Depending on where my stop was, I may have gotten stopped out on a move like this, but that 33.25 area is why I was saying during slow markets looking to buy this. This is a market where VWAP left that range to the upside. Buying here gives me a better opportunity, especially with this VWAP flattening out and that rejection off the 200 moving average. Coach, if we weren't rejecting at this 200 moving average, I would be more inclined to buy this against view up.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're under the 200.
Yep. Right.
So, here's another thing. Um, when we hit the touch the 200, we can start putting a VWAP
Hmm.
and see if it's going to, if if is it going to continue?
Right.
Well, right away we had selling. We had an urgency on the sell side. So even if you were long and just it didn't, I don't even know if it touched it, but
No, it
every
didn't. It
time,
rejected right at it.
yeah. So when we talk about, it could be we could frame that out and sell it there. And when we frame it out on it, I I
These
think
highs
everyone can afford one micro there. Yeah, those highs. Frame it out.
close below it, and we just go risk above the
We
high.
go we go where we correct 50% of that range. Once again, you didn't put that line there. That line is there every time.
Yep.
50%.
Does not stop. All right. Let's talk about the reversal of all
There it
reversals
is.
at the lows. Blue Boy. This is a perfect example of where if you're taking that J trade on a small candle, my risk is going below the low. Blue Boy had asked a question, right? Sometimes these volume exhaustions candles are going to happen on pretty big candles. Sometimes it's going to happen on a really small range. Now, what we also have to think about is every time we've shown one of these pretty much on at the buzzer, these have been on 3-minute candles. That's the aggregation that I chose to use. But if you use a 2-minute chart, it might look a little different. If you use a 5-minute, it might look a little different. But concept is the same here, right? Look at the small range of this candle, 4 points, and that was some of the highest volume that we had all day and could not push it lower. On a close above this, buying it somewhere near the high, or I'll be honest, guys, what I try to do a lot of the times, if it's a small candle like this, we close, and this is where execution comes in. We close above this rally. I try not to buy. I try to buy this to retest with my risk on the other side. I don't always get it. Sometimes you just get in, uh, but
Coach, I got to tell you, you
go
just
ahead.
asked, can you train someone to do exactly? No,
Yeah,
I'm
Y-
different. I'm going.
Coach
I
Paul's in
don't.
right here. As soon as this
I'm in.
closes, he's in right here.
I'm in. I'll frame out the risk. I like
Yep.
that trade that much. Doesn't make us either different, but it fits our personality.
Right.
But I probably do a couple on that because, well, first of all, this is one. If you're short,
Get out.
there's a market button. Cover. don't don't FO F
FAFO.
FOFA.
No FAFOs.
Don't no. That is that. So I wanted to go in. What's happening down there?
Sellers are
Think about this.
meeting buyers.
Yeah, it's being absorbed. It isn't the other part where they're just looking for buyers. There's probably resting orders there.
Yep.
Or we don't, actually I keep it simple. Here's the simple thing. Heavy volume, light volume took out heavy volume
Right.
instantly on the lows.
Yep.
That's the beauty of VWAP. When you attach VWAP to there, what? Oh, okay, there it is. So,
And
man,
here's
that goes in the J Trade Museum.
yeah, I mean that's a you know when it really we can really put it in a museum when you take the trade. Take the trade. Take the trade. Uh
What time was that?
that was at 10:06 Eastern time. I was trying to short the equities. Uh why so here we go where this is where preempting this trade can maybe get you in a little bit of trouble, right? This here, technically, with this high volume here, almost 2,000 contracts, this candle that I have framed out could have been the low of that move, right? What's the difference here? We never closed above the high, and if we attach VWAP to it, VWAP is pushing lower, coach, which is telling us continuation, right? So this is why we're saying, you know, you can preempt the trades, but sometimes that high volume is going to lead to continuation if that volume is sustainable, right? And we can see it there. That volume continues to push lower. We get another one. Oh, is this one the low now? Can this be it? Frame this one out. But that volume is still continuing to push us lower until we finally close. So am I sacrificing trade location and not getting the exact low of the day by, buying that immediate reversal? I am, but I think that's okay. I'd rather pay, you know, for confirmation and sacrifice a little bit of trade location to get that confirmation because again, look at how big this move is. We're talking about a complete reversal of the day in gold. Do these trades show up every day? In some market, they do. But if we're talking about a 40-point reversal to the high, I don't have to get the exact low tick by, to get into this trade. You can be a little patient and wait for the
Yeah,
market to confirm a reverse.
that market button works.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. Psalm 91 says he caught that trade with a micro. It's a hell of a trade. That is a hell of a trade. And seeing something like this kind of just reminds me, coach, is just you only need one. Shout out to SMB, shout out to Mike Bellafiore. One good trade. This could be one good. I mean, if you hold on to this, if you find a way to hold that, and I know that's not easy, right? We're talking about hours of holding a trade that could make your month.
That's funny. See, that's perspective. To me, hours, that's what my ideal is.
Right, right,
But I mean that, but neither is right or wrong.
for sure.
Um, but one thing is on that kind of trade, sometimes it's 2 units of risk
Hmm.
versus 1 unit of risk. Take one, pay for it by with house money, and let the other one run. Now, that's easy to say that we knew it ran 40, but it's the principle works
Yep,
because I'll call that a high probability trade.
sure. JD 129 had a question. Why not wait for a close above anchor view up with a stop below the low? You could do that as well, right? And that's why I think what we're talking about here and what we're realizing is there's a principle and then there's a way to take the trade, right? Everyone's going to take it just a little bit differently, but I think there's validity to that as well. Let the market close above VWAP and then go from there. Coach, I know you look at that sometimes as your entry. Also, somebody had asked a question before about how do you get into trending markets? Kind of waiting for pullbacks. Pullbacks aren't always going to be perfect, right? They're not always going to be, but I mean, look at this. In this case, this gave us perfect pullbacks to VWAP, right? If you don't get a full test of it, is it still a good trade? It could be, but just waiting for pullbacks, I really try not to buy highs. If the market wants to continue going without me, then I'm okay sitting out. What about you, coach? How do you get into trending markets?
Well, in this example, since that, wait for it to get the VWAP. do not buy the breakouts because most likely you're going to suffer some heat and more heat than you probably expected.
Yep.
So, but this in a short, a micro, literally micro environment, let it come to where the the volume is,
Yep.
volume weighted average price, and then you can buy that area. If you're just trying to buy that price, you never got in.
Yeah.
And sometimes we err on the thing. I just want what I'll call a stress-free trade.
That does not exist.
Stop, stop now.
That does not
It,
exist.
and when they come, it's usually a failure, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
We use the saying, God, that was too easy. Now I'm
It's
gonna get punished.
like
I mean, really. I mean, and notice here, if you had support, I mean, let's from we talk about levels. Now, what level was that? I'd be interested to see against my daily levels in gold. What was that price?
3316 3317 30 17s to 20.
33.17.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I had a pivot at 33.20. Oh wow.
There you go. Right there. Right there.
Now it's at 20. If I'm just looking at a level, a price level, I might have bought 20s and say I could have got stopped out on there.
Mhm.
But if you know, I see the level, I want to see what kind of action is going on there.
Yep.
That when we talk about that, to me, confirms that level. Heck, knowing that, now I have more information to lean into that trade. But this is this happens not every day.
Not every day.
But if you're trading gold and you see that, now instead of being 1 unit, you could do 2 to 3 units. Because someone was asking, I like that idea more than adding, just for myself. Like, okay, I'm willing to. I mean, it's almost like reading, carding, counting cards. Like,
Yep.
okay, it's lined up.
Uh all right. Let's anything else on gold, coach, before we move on to crude oil?
Let's go to crude.
All right, let's go to crude. And then Kira, I see your question. We got a couple questions in here that we want to answer as well. Let's answer this one real quick. So with the anchor, so Kira asks, you're anchoring it on the low at about 10 a.m. I'm guessing you're doing this at maybe 10:30 or 11 a.m. as you see the market running. So what I'll do, and maybe I'll take a video of how I actively trade in Quantower one day. But what I'm doing is every time the candle closes, or and I told you guys I use what's called power trades in Quantower. Every time I get one of those, I anchor a view up to it. And maybe I'm doing a little bit too much, but I want to see the reaction right away. So once this candle is finished printing and I see its significant volume, right? I'm not going to do it on this little candle right here, right? Because that doesn't mean anything. But this one, significant volume at the low, I'm going to anchor right away. So I'm going to see it initially like this. And this gives me a pretty quick read. Coach, we've talked about this, right? Where is that VWAP in relation to that range as soon as we print it? It already looks like it wants to leave, right?
Yeah.
And then we go from there. So if I miss it, if I'm not watching it, then I'll anchor there, right? Let's say I didn't come to my charts until 11 o'clock, then I'll anchor there because I'll see that's the low. But if I'm watching it and I see it's high volume, then I'll anchor right away. All right. Uh
Oh, I just don't look at how the volume tails off after that. The average, the higher we go, the less of volume there was. And the
yep.
average volume is tailing off.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the market closed at this point. The market's settled. That's technically here, and even after settlement, we continue to rally in gold into the close on lower volume. You really cannot keep this market down. Uh, and again, the anchor view up. Find what works for you. For me, I anchor to high volume. Some people are going to say anchor time, swing lows and highs, right? Anchor to the high and low of the day. Uh, Whatever it is, try to find a process that you can repeat consistently. Gold, I mean, sorry, crude oil, coach. Anything interesting in crude right now,
Yep. Still, excuse me.
right?
Um, yeah, well, it's springtime,
Oh yeah, allergy season.
allergy season. Um, Boy, stagnant is what I can say. We're still below that 20-day moving average. We tested yesterday, rejected, held yesterday's low. Um, Now I really didn't do much today.
Yeah,
Overall, still in a downtrend, but what else is there to say? I'd really to get aggressive buyer, we'd close above the daily 20 moving average. But we
crude
rallied from late from last night.
did. Crude has kind of been a nasty market, where it feels like it's not doing anything, and then we get a random headline from OPEC plus, and it just goes crazy for a couple of seconds. I have not traded crude much lately, but we did rally from last night.
Yeah, we did rally nicely, came back. Look at that. And that's just oh, now that's a crazy I was short this in this half hour.
Mm.
That that half hour doesn't do it justice. Let's do a 3 minute. Is that oh, let's do a 1 minute. I know that might have been a fat thumb error. Yeah. Oh, we're going into the Netherlands
Yeah,
here.
we're zooming in. We're zooming in here. This is a 1 second chart. This is why, regardless of the market that you're trading, it's important to have a stop and manage your risk. This is a 1 second chart. Here is
A
446
J
contracts
trade.
that traded in a second. I mean, markets are fractal, right? The concept is the concept. Principle is the principle. High volume at the lows. We close outside of it, right to 50% of it.
1 second. It's so I saw it, it was whatever it was. I did, there wasn't much volume
Right.
until we could find a bid, and then it found one. Wow, wow, yeah. Because I've been short, and I'm like, here we go, and I literally, you could say I looked back about 10 seconds later. I'm like, what? I thought it was going down. Maybe I didn't see that. Um, so one of the things to take out of that, this market is really balanced.
Yeah.
It's- There's and it disappointed me.
Yep. Balance for sure. All right. Any other markets we want to talk about, Coach? We are at time, but we could pass this on to Coach Hoop and go another 15 minutes. Any other markets you want to talk about today?
Um,
Anything on your scouting report?
Nothing big on it. Actually, the scouting report is the equities. When
Equities.
we
Yep.
talked early, I'm
The
thinking
big
that
show.
it's the big show now. Like I said, being a Friday, it seems like it sound. You know what? Quickly, let's go look at the bonds. Yeah, kind of looked like the equities. They moved in unison last night. Um, so starting last night, it was early. There you go.
Nice trade.
Yeah.
Started in Asia as well.
Yep. That's why I'm starting to get the feeling that the bigger players are there's something going on, maybe announced over the weekend, which would be par for the course.
Mm,
Um, but it's either short covering or bargain hunting. I don't know. I know this. The buying came in and really didn't back off at all. There was no selling that could change the course. So it was a pretty good move, actually.
Yep. Uh, yeah, really nice rally there.
And that's the
Uh,
only one I have. And we're
oh
at time,
wow,
aren't we?
look at that white line.
Oh, yeah, that too.
30-minute chart. All right, let's do rapid fire quick through some of these questions and we will get out of here. Emily Clary, how do you choose a take profit level? Preset levels, reversal candles, flattening of anchored VWAP. For me, it's momentum. My stops, my profit targets are based on momentum. A long time ago, I had a trade that would have made me a whole lot of money if it hit my profit target, and the market turned around a couple of points, or in this case, a couple of cents away. It was a stock trade from where I would have had a really nice day. After that day, I decided that I'm going to actively manage trades if I'm day trading. Right? If it's a swing trade, completely different story. But I'm going to actively manage trades. So for me, as long as the momentum continues in my direction, and that's why I read volume, then I'll stay in the trade and anticipate getting out near levels, like you said, preset levels. If you look at whole number levels, or prior areas of supply or demand, and then I'm watching the market's response there. If I'm in a short and I see sellers slowing down, then I'm thinking position management and taking a trade off. Coach, how do you choose a profit level?
Well, for well, on all of them, my profit level when I enter is established. I For day trading, it's 2 to 1 risk reward. So if I'm risking, and I measure that by average true range, and the average true range that I have entered the trade. So if it was a 30-minute, in this, it would be two ATRs risk. I would want it would take four ATRs objective, and I put that order in
Go.
unless I see some type of J trade,
Uh,
and then I'm out, and um and I do
Hitting the
that
reversal button.
consistently, especially for day trading. To me, it's reasonable.
Yep.
Where I get screwed up is something on a swing trade. I'm looking 12 to
10%
1.
move.
Yeah, and it doesn't work but 20% of the time.
Right.
But when it does, it's usually pretty special. Um, but in day trading, it's reasonable because every day you have much more opportunity. So 2 to 1 to me is very reasonable if you have a solid um plan. Even if you go 50-50, which is true randomness, right? But if it works 50% of the time and your risk is 2 to 1, do the math.
Works out in
And
your
you
favor.
and that's reasonable.
Yep. Stuff. 2 to 1s for day trades, and not with a 1 point risk either. ATR
Yeah.
based risk, and they're some pretty nice trades. Uh, how do you guys calculate premium versus discount on a higher time frame basis? Coach, you want to take that one?
I don't
Yeah.
I'm not clear.
Mhm.
Um
I think
Actually, I would
that's a
say
Coach Ray
tomorrow.
question. Go ahead, Coach.
I would say tomorrow. Go a little deeper on that, on what you mean by that.
Okay,
Um by premium or discount. Because my option mind went, and I'm like, we're not trading options. So if you could define, I'd love to comment on it.
good stuff.
Maybe I could learn something.
I know Coach Ray. That is Coach Ray's vocabulary, right? Looking for premium and discounts. He does classes at 6 p.m. Central Time every day in Discord, Monday through Thursday. What time frame do you monitor your trade on once it executes? Thomas, I try to zoom out. I'll always have a 3 minute chart up, but on the side, I'm usually looking at a 30-minute chart. Coach, do you zoom out and use a different time frame to monitor your trades once you're in?
Whatever time frame I entered the trade is the only time frame that I look at.
There you go.
Don't If it's in a 3 minute, then watch the 3 minute. It's a very slippery slope. Because what happened if it starts becoming a loser? We look for other time frames to confirm that maybe I'm right.
switch the chart
Who's
until
been
you find a
guilty of
time
that?
frame that switch the chart until you find a time frame that works. So for me, yeah, I agree
Right.
with you, coach. I always have a 30 and a 3, and I'm not gonna switch, right? It's like, oh man, it's going against me. But if I go to the 1 second chart, it looks good. Just gotta hold on for one more second.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you seriously, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
If you've like I said, I've done that. We all have as traders. So if you enter in a 3 minute, that's where you're getting out. That's your focus. If it's the 5 minute, the half hour,
Yep.
um, I'm a firm believer in that. Wow, that's the 1 second.
No, it's a 3 minute.
Oh,
I just zoomed
okay.
out. All right. I
There you
think we
go.
got to all the questions. Oh, one more from my life, Chris. What platform do you use to backtest strategies? I don't ever really backtest like the execution of a trade. It's more of the idea. So my charting platform, I just use Quantower and say, oh yeah, that looks good. If I ever want to do like that backtesting exercise, I'll go to TradingView, and just kind of run it from there. But I think I could actually do that in Quantower. I just haven't spent the time to figure it out. You backtest it all, coach, or is it?
I did a lot of back testing. We don't have it here on this platform.
Yep.
I used Ninja. I've used TradingView. Um, all of them have pluses and minuses. The key point if you're going to back test, and this is, I have, you just triggered me,
I know exactly what you're about to say.
is your database has to be clean. We don't have time to go through it now. Clean database, and it's extremely important. Maybe I'll go and spend more time on that, but that's the biggest obstacle. You can be fooled if you don't into thinking you got something, but it's because your database was not clean. So what was that? Why didn't I buy that?
What are we looking at? Oh, this is the S&P. You
I
did
know.
buy it.
Yeah, I did. See, but
That
I didn't want to go through that. It happens in in different markets at different rates.
yep, 100%. All right, coach. Anything you got before we go? We are over time right now. Some food waiting for me.
Um, well, you young man's got to eat, so I won't I won't hold him. Get rest. And look at that. Those equities could. I have an eye to why myself and looking for a decent move in the equities tomorrow to the upside.
Good
If
stuff.
not, I'll lose small.
There we go. For me, trade well, manage your risk. Again, these markets are presenting a ton of opportunity every day. We're seeing it every day. These markets presenting opportunities to us. We just have to be patient and wait for our setups. Um, there was a question. There was one more question here. Do we think that it's possible for the markets to gap up tomorrow? In the wise words of Celtic great Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. Have a great night, everyone. Coach Hoop's doing a class in Discord coming up. And we got coaches Ray and Vince, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., and of course Dakota with slow markets. See you all for fast markets tomorrow. But
Bye.
Kemba was great too. Yeah. But he won chips with
Yeah,
the Celtics.
Chicago kid also. I'll throw that in there.
Anything is possible. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.